Yo, how is it going, boys? Today we're back with a new video. I'm going to be showing you the best starter guide on Elorin Rsps. I don't want to waste any time, so let's get straight to it. The first thing you guys should be doing before you even get on the server is joining through my referral. Why? Because we both get all these rewards as you see in my inventory. We'll both be able to get $80 worth of rank boosts and $95 worth of bonds, and on top of that we'll also get 125 mil and the XP lamp. Just from joining through my referral you will get these rewards passively for playing overtime. So make sure you guys join through my referral. It will be linked 3 times at the top of the description. Also make sure you guys go vote, because those are the first 2 basic things you should be doing even before you get on the server, and doing both of them will give you a nice head start in the game. Also, there'll be a lot of giveaways you guys can enter through this YouTube panel down here. I know myself will be live on Kick. I'll be doing giveaways every single 45 minutes, so you guys can definitely enter them on my Kick, and you guys can enter all YouTube giveaways down here as well. So this video is going to cover most points, and I'm going to try make it as adaptable as possible for every single person, so you guys can all get the best start possible. Keep in mind I am recording this before release, so I don't know the prices of items, but I am judging this based off the upgrade point system, which will give me a pretty good clue on the prices when the server actually releases. I'll be constantly referring back to this point item exchange list, because what I've tried to do is break down every boss, their drops, drop rate and their point values to figure out which bosses are the most efficient to farm for points or money. And the reason why these points are really useful is because you can use them on the upgrade bench to upgrade some of your weapons. You can either buy relics with them to help boost XP or help boost your kill times for different bosses and minigames, or they can be used to buy some really endgame items. So first thing I want to cover is straight away when you log in, I'd first go over to your town board and I would look at completing some of these town board tasks. Completing these town board tasks gets you points and XP. With this XP you get a bunch of these levels which you're going to need down the line. There's an insane boost, so you want to stack these up over time. So I think that's one of the first, or if not the first thing you should be doing on the server. So despite what game mode you picked, you should be getting your base combat levels to about 80. So I would get all of these up to 80, including mage, range, all of these hit points, all at least about 80. You can do some of this through leveling up Slayer, farming charms through rock lobsters, which you're probably going to need down the line, or you could either level up a rock crabs or something basic, just so you can get your stats nice and high. Now when you've done that, there's a bunch of different bosses you can go to, but I'll tell you some of the ones that I think look like the best moneymaker or the best upgrade point farm in the game. So instantly I'll be looking at leveling up my Dungeoneering through doing Dungeoneering. This will also get you stacked up on points, so you can go get some of these chaotic weapons which are pretty mid-tier weapons. I'd also be looking at getting this charming imp from Dungeoneering. That'll help you collect charms off the ground, which you're going to need for summoning. Starting out with pest control also wouldn't be a bad shout. This will get you some really good mage, melee and range gear right off the bat, and it's very easy to do, and especially if you're playing on release there'll be a bunch of people here, so it could be a decent shot. Right, now that you have some decent stats, or you could have started with this anyway, Slayer is always a good money guide in the game, and the main reason you're going to probably want to do Slayer anyways is to go get an Arclight, which I'll get onto a bit later, because you're going to need this Arclight for Tormented Demons. It's also got stuff like the Ring of Wealth that you're pretty much going to need, a Rune Pouch, Imbued Heart, Salve Amulet, some of these stuff you may need, Slayer Helm, which will also be nice. Now for those that want to take a bit of risk and can tank a bit in the Wilderness Slayer is always better than normal Slayer. I believe you get more points and there's a chance you can get Wilderness Keys, and with those Wilderness Keys there's a bunch of Wilderness type weapons like Vesta, Armadillo Godsword, Dragon Claws, all these different type of weapons I'll put on screen that you guys can get, and there are some pretty good really rare weapons that you can get with Wilderness Slayer. So I think starting off with Slayer is also very good, and again getting that Arclight will be very important for Tormented Demons, which is going to be one of my favorite routes. So once you've got your Arclight, I'd get down towards Tormented Demons and try farm these out for some demon bane weapons. This is going to be really useful for 2 things, Doom and Demonic Gorillas most importantly. This is going to help you farm Demonic Gorillas for Zenites, which I'll show you why is very important. Also I think this is the route I'm going to be taking because this is probably my favorite one out of everything I'm going to show in the video. If you can farm yourself some nice demon bane weapons, I think Demonic Gorillas would be really good to farm. Why? Because they had drop an uncut Zenite and some other drops which sell for a lot of upgrade points. I'll put on screen the drop rate for an uncut Zenite, and I'll also show how much upgrade points it sells for. So farming Demonic Gorillas could be good, and if you do have demon bane weapons it'll speed it up a lot, but it's not a requirement. You do not need demon bane weapons for this. Another decent way you could start off is through farming Zulrah. I'll also show you on screen some of the drops you can get from Zulrah and the amount of points they cost. Getting a blowpipe early though could help you with some other bossing. Another one of my favorite routes I'm probably going to be taking myself is Gauntlet. I'll put on screen the requirements you're going to need to start Gauntlet, and my stats I'd basically have it around base 80s or base 85s, and the good thing about Gauntlet is you do not need any gear to do it. So you could start with no gear and you could just get doing Gauntlet. I'll also show you the the points for an armor seed and a weapon seed that you can get through Corrupted Gauntlet. Another one of my favourite ways to start is through Perilous Moons. Perilous Moons drops a lot of moon gear, and it also drops a crystal halberd and a blood necklace shard you guys can use. Again, like I've done with the other ones, I'll show you the drop rate and the exchange points you guys can exchange them for. Majority of the moon pieces are between 3 to 5k, and the drop rates for them are pretty low, so you guys can farm some Perilous Moons. I think you could get a bunch of drops, and just to sort of farm exchange points, it could be a good way. I think again, this is one of my favourite ones I've seen because it's pretty consistent in getting some nice gear, and it also has a chance to get stuff like a crystal halberd, which is quite a lot of upgrade points. And also crystal halberd is useful for a lot of bosses down the line, so getting this early could get you a nice boost. And also moons isn't one of the hardest bosses in the game, it's pretty easy to get through, so it shouldn't be that challenging. Now another route I think is very good, and again one of my favourite ones, is DT2 bosses. If you don't know what the DT2 bosses are, these include Vardovis, Duke, Whisperer and Leviathan. These bosses all relatively drop similar stuff, but they drop them at a very high drop rate, so it means you do have to get lucky for them. However, the drops that they drop do give a lot of upgrade points and are really useful. Every single one of them will drop Virtus, and Virtus is a very good mage gear you're going to want. They also drop rings, which are kind of endgame rings, so you're going to want them. The upgrade point values of Virtus and all these rings that these drop are also very high, so if you even do want to exchange them for points, it could be really useful. Because they all have different drop rates, I'll post the drop rate and the points for each one. Now I wouldn't do these without some half decent gear, so I'd first get some nice little gear and then start. I think my personal favourite is doing Duke. I think it's the easiest one out of all of them. Some people may argue there's another easier one, but it's whatever you like, to be honest, and they are really easy to learn, so don't worry about that. You can do them with pretty basic gear, but I think to save you a bit of time, because you might be on a long grind for this, is try get some decent gear. Now I did mention that you're going to need charms from rock lobsters or any other bosses in the game for summoning. Now the reason why summoning is really OP is because you can get this pouch right here, which is called the Steel Titan pouch. At level 99 summoning you can get this, and it's going to really help you with some of the bosses in the game. To get this, you need to exchange these items you can see right here and progress through the levels till you get to level 99. Now this may take quite a while, so it's not really a start you should be looking for, but as soon as you can, get that Steel Titan, and the reason you're going to need it I'll go on to next. Right, so the reason you need them is mainly because bosses like Nex, you can bring the Steel Titan in and they will do majority of your damage. Now Nex is more leaning towards the mid game, or not really mid game, but it's kind of going away from the starter game, so you may get this a bit further down the line. But I think as soon as you can get to Nex, it's a really good grind because of the pieces it drops and the point values it gives. Nex drops full Torva and Nihil Horn, Zarite Vambraces, some of these really OP gear that you can use, or you can even exchange for upgrade points. Like I've done with the other bosses, I'll also put the drop rate and the points on screen. Now again, I would probably recommend getting 99 summoning and using a Steel Titan here, because it will do majority of your damage for you. And gear wise, I'd probably say you want at least a crossbow, so maybe even chaotics could be a good way to start here. You can also use instance tokens here, so I think you can use that so that you don't get crashed, because it is the top 3 damage dealers that do get the drops. But again, this drops one of the best melee gear in the game, and it drops some really other useful items you can get. However, remember, this is kind of leading towards the late starter game, so yeah. So just an example for what the Steel Titan does, I'm not even going to touch the boss, and look at the damage I'm doing. As you can see, every time this goes down, he keeps doing consistent damage to it. I've not even touched the boss yet. He's just chipping away at the boss. I mean, of course, you're going to be doing damage to it as well, but it will do a lot of damage and it will chip the boss down slowly for you. So it literally is basically killing it for you. Now, I know I haven't really mentioned this, but also getting the Infernal Cape could be a really good start. I don't think it's very hard because it is boss only, or you can do the full 69 waves, which I'll show you why. So if you do boss only, you'll only get the Infernal Cape. If you do the full 69 waves, you'll get this Infernal Max Cape. I'll show you the stats difference as well. So Infernal Cape here, of course, you can see the stats there, and the Max Infernal Cape has just got a lot better stats, so it's definitely worth it to go for that. But of course, it depends what PVM level you are. If you're not that good, then probably just going for Infernal will be nice. But if you're pretty good PVM and you want to take a challenge, then going for Max is definitely worth it. Of course, this is probably one of the best starts you can get as well, having an Infernal Max Cape. It'll boost a lot of your damage, and it's a very good cape to have. Right, now I'm going to go into some of your PKers. Now, I'm not a PKer myself, but I know there's some decent stuff you can do, and I'll go over the basics and what I've pretty much tried to figure out myself. Now again, of course, Pking has a Pking shop down here which you can check out. A little unique thing here I can show is some of these untradeable rewards down here, which as you can see, like stuff like Soulspan Smite drain more prey points in the wildy for 4,000 points. You got Wilderness Crate upgrade, you got Wilderness Key upgrades, you can unlock loot keys, and then of course when it comes to Pking, you can also get emblems which you can also exchange for points, so I'll do that quickly. Quick sell, I got 42k points for that. Another one here, 57 for that. So you also get some Slayer points for that as well. So yeah, you have the store down here as well, the usual items. Of course, you can get PK mystery box, all of this type of stuff. Again, I'm not much of a PK myself, so I don't want to jump into something I don't know much of, but mostly this video is covering PVMing. But of course, if you are PKs, I'll cover some of that. Again, another basic one I'll go over is Revenant Caves. You guys know the gist, of course. You can PK in Rev Caves or you can PVM there. It's probably going to be run by CC, so if you are a good PK, you're getting a good CC, that maybe you can take over Rev Caves. But again, you know how Revs are. I was going to put it in as a PVMing, but it's more of course leaning towards PKing because it's in the wildy. But yeah, you're probably going to need to be in a CC to farm Revs, and Revs is a good money, but of course it's in the wildy, so I don't want to go into too much detail on it. And I'll also dive into some of the wildy events they've got. So they've got breaches, and these breaches drop similar stuff to the wildy keys. I'll put on screen also an MVP possible drop that you can get from participating in breaches. I'm not sure on the exact timing of when breaches are, but I think they're cycled. But yeah, these are little fun PKing events that can also get you some nice drops, and I know a lot of PKs will be using breaches. Also, there's going to be a lot of wildy events such as a boss called Referral, which as you can see in the chat, top 5 damage deals will receive loot, and I'll also put a screenshot of what it dropped. Now this does have some really good rewards in it, so for PKs they're going to be absolutely loving this. But you could go down there even as a PVMer, try sniper loot. It is probably worth it. Another thing I wanted to lean to for PKs and PVMers, make sure you guys are joining tournaments. Tournaments I think are set every single 8 hours, and they can also be hosted by people. So some people might host tournaments for bond rewards, so make sure you guys are joining them, because that could be a really good way to make some money. Some tournaments are probably RNG, so you don't even need to be a PK for these. So 100% get down here for most of these tournaments, try win some nice rewards. Right now I've mentioned most of the starter stuff you can basically do. I'm going to mention some stuff you could sort of do down the line, and some of you really good PVMers could do this pretty early on. One of my favorites that you can do is Fortis Colosseum. Now me personally, I'm absolutely dog shit at PVMing. I've tried to do this, it's the hardest fucking thing I've ever done. But you have the option between doing boss only and all 12 waves. I think boss only isn't worth it, to be fair, but I do think 12 waves, if you're a good PVMer and you have some decent gear, I would 100% get doing this. Again, like I've done with the other ones, I'll put on screen where it drops, and as you can see by the value, it's clearly really OP, and it definitely is something worth to grind, especially if you're a good PVMer. Now again, a bit towards the mid-game PVMing content, I'd look at doing Doom. Now especially if you have Demon Bane weapons, this will make it a lot easier. You won't need too much gear, and to be honest, if you are not even that good of a PVMer, I don't think it's too bad, because you can do it wave by wave, and you can still get drops through each wave. Again, like I've done with the other ones, I'll put on screen the drops that you can get. It really does look worth it, and I'm pretty sure the drops that you see on the screen, it does get better as the waves go on, so your drop rate will increase. That's just the base drop rate that you're seeing. So yeah, Doom looks like something that's really worth it, and honestly, maybe it could even be a starter game stuff for most people, but I didn't want to put it in because people may find this a bit hard. But 100% I definitely look at getting into Doom, especially if you can get your Demon Bane weapons from Tormented Demons and you'd already have them for Demonic Gorilla. But yeah, that's most of the stuff I can really show. I haven't leaned into going towards raids, but of course that's the usual thing. You can go raids after you get some nice gear. After you've completed most of the starter stuff, raids will definitely be a good way to grind. There's also other bosses like Virago, you got Naimora to grind. There's so much of the custom stuff, but mainly this is just for the start, so getting yourself started, and 100% stuff like raiding you can easily do once you have this pretty decent gear. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys leave a like on the video, subscribe, and also make sure you guys go down to my Kick, follow my Kick, because I'll be doing giveaways on there a lot. So that's another way you guys can make some free money, and especially if you guys are watching this before release weekend, on the 28th of August I'll be live at 5 PM UK time, which is 1 hour before the release, and I'll be doing giveaways every single 45 minutes, and I'm also going to be streaming for about 39 hours throughout the whole weekend, so there's going to be plenty of chances for you guys to win rewards. So make sure you guys tune in and get yourself some free rewards. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, and maybe stay away from this gamble zone you see behind me, because it may clean your ass, so be careful. Unless you're feeling lucky, of course.